If you struggle with confidence around money, I have 5 tips that are really practical that will really help you going forward to become more confident in your ability to make good financial decisions and feel really assured when it comes to this area. If you're new to my channel, hello and welcome. I'm Sarah Edens. I'm a financial consultant and educator, and I'm so happy that you chose to join me today. And welcome back to all my current subscribers. I'm so happy you're here. So let's take a look at financial confidence. Numerous studies have shown over the years that financial literacy, which is knowing how to budget, how to save, how to invest, how to plan for retirement, is great. But what's perhaps even more important is the confidence to be able to put all of that into action, because you can have the knowledge, but if you don't have the confidence to go ahead and start taking action, it's not going to help you out one bit. And this whole topic is referred to as financial self-efficacy, which refers to your belief in your capacity to manage financial tasks, make sound decisions, and achieve your long-term financial goals. So financial self-efficacy is really, really important, and it's what we're talking about when we're talking about financial confidence. So how can you start becoming more confident about your finances today, right, by watching this video? So the first thing to do is to track your wins and not just your spending. So a lot of times you'll hear people encourage you to track every dollar that you spend in a very strict, rigid budget. And while that can be helpful, it's also helpful when you're working towards a goal of becoming more confident with your money to start looking at, where did things go well? Where did you have an impulse purchase that you said no to? Where did you have a financial goal that you met? Like you had a credit card that had just been kind of lingering and you hadn't been able to get the balances paid off, and you finally paid the balance off on that credit card, or you finally finished paying off a car loan. It's such a good feeling. And I speak from personal experience because I just remember when I got our car loans paid off, I had done without a lot of things while I was paying the car loans off, because I was just so committed to getting out of debt over those loans. And I was very grateful for our cars, but very tired of all the payments we were making on them. And so it's such a good feeling to build your confidence by having those small wins over time. So I'd really encourage you to start tracking those. The second way to build your confidence around money and around your finances is to learn just enough and then take action. And so this really gets to the whole point when we talk about in education about, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're constantly saying, well, I'll take action when I've got it all figured out. And until then, I'm just going to sit here and learn and absorb information and read books and listen to podcasts. And that's all great. But what you want to do is just learn what you need to know to get to that next step. So going back to our example with debt payoff, if you're struggling with debt payoff, figure out what you want to do, pay off that credit card, for example, and then figure out what are the tools you need to get that paid off. Is it that you need a stricter budget for yourself for a while to make sure that you've got more to put towards that credit card? Is it that you need to examine your money mindset or your impulse spending perhaps, and just figure out what you need to do for that particular task? Finance can be so overwhelming, and I even see financial professionals talking about this all the time in the networks that I'm in, where especially when it comes to super tricky things like retirement planning, it's even they who maybe have spent decades and decades in that particular niche of the finance industry find it somewhat overwhelming when they're actually kind of boots on the ground, having to be putting together their own retirement plan or retirement plans for clients. And there's still snags and issues that they run into, even though they're very, very subspecialized in, say, retirement planning. So for the rest of us who don't have decades under our belt of ultra high-end financial planning and experience and all of this, it's just like you're never going to get that incredibly wide knowledge base that these financial professionals have, but you don't necessarily need it to work towards specific financial goals. I think there's definitely a time and a place for hiring a financial advisor if you find yourself in a jam and have the resources to hire a financial advisor to help you out, or hire a retirement professional. But when it comes to some of these other things, such as debt payoff, just figure out what you need to know to get to that next step and then start implementing, start taking the action that you need to take. And that's going to help you build confidence because we build confidence through those small wins. The third thing you can do to build your confidence around money is to create a no shame budget. So a lot of times budgets can feel overly restrictive. And I always say you can have the perfect budget that gets the best reviews for the app online, or somebody says it's just the best strategy ever. Maybe even your financial planner has advised it. But if it's something that doesn't resonate with you and you don't use, and so therefore you're not budgeting, it's the wrong budget for you. So just find something that works for you, and then make sure that you're building things into your budget that reflect your real life, what you're doing in real time. Make sure you have a vacation fund. Make sure you have a travel fund. Make sure you have a fun money fund in your budget that you're putting money into. I'd encourage you to keep those different funds in something like a high yield savings account while you're building them, so it builds a little bit of interest over time. But it's really key to make sure that your budget is not something that feels like a punishment, but is a tool that you're using to work towards saving, investing, retirement planning, and then having fun, making sure that you're not so overly focused on your future self that you're not having any fun today. It's such a balance, isn't it? Because if we have too much fun with our money today and spend it all on the things that we want in the moment, there's not going to be enough for later because we haven't invested and set up a retirement plan. But if we put everything off until later, then, unfortunately, what happens for a lot of people is they tend to lose their health in their later years. And so they might have all this money, but their health is too poor to do some of the things that they wanted to do when they were younger, but didn't have the funds for. So just try to find that fine balance for yourself of what's going to help you feel fulfilled now, and then also be prepared later, so you're not pushing your future self kind of off a financial cliff and leaving yourself with no resources. The fourth way that you can build confidence around money is to name your old money narratives and replace them with more positive ones. So this is something that gets so back to money mindset, which you talk about in almost every video here on my channel. But it's really key to look at how you are thinking about money and the stories, the narratives you're telling yourself about money and finances. For example, if you constantly are telling yourself, well, I'm just not good with money, try being aware of that. Start a little note in Notion or your notes on your phone or something, and start keeping track of these things that pop up in your head, and then think about how you can replace that with something that's going to help you get to your goals. So instead of saying, I'm so bad with money, try moving that over to saying, I'm learning how to build my financial confidence. I'm learning how to build my financial literacy. I'm taking those steps, because a lot of times we have to prove to ourselves by taking the right action consistently over and over and over again that yes, we can do it. And we have to have that belief in ourselves as well, that it's possible for us to build like all of these skills in an area that's admittedly very complex. There's a lot to it, especially when you get to investing and retirement planning, like we talked about before, that most people kind of like glaze over, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna go watch TV on the sofa because this is way too stressful and my head is literally exploding and I just don't have bandwidth to figure this out right now. And unfortunately that happens for a lot of people with their finances. It's just so overwhelming, and maybe they've been told they're bad with money by somebody in their past, unfortunately, and they've started to internalize that narrative. It's also key. Think about which money narratives have been perhaps passed down to you generationally. Maybe you had grandparents like mine who grew up in the middle of the Great Depression and grew up with nothing. And unfortunately, some of the narratives that get handed down from going through a time of dire poverty like that is like, there's never going to be enough money. You have to save everything. You have to hang on to every little bit, because you might not have what you need tomorrow. I just vividly remember how one of my grandmothers who grew up during the Great Depression, she and her family were so poor growing up that even much later in life, when they were doing absolutely fine and didn't have money problems, she would save everything. She would save every plastic bag. She would save every twisty tie. She would save every little, reusable plastic container. And it wasn't because she was trying to be healthy, good on the environment, which is a great reason to not, to keep things out of the landfill. But she was just hanging on to all of these things just in case, there was a shortage later, just all those decades earlier, of having had times when, the kids didn't have shoes, or there wasn't enough to eat, or these sorts of things. And so those narratives can even get passed down generationally. So very important to pay attention to there. And the fifth and final way that you can build your confidence around money is to surround yourself with empowered voices. This is great advice, regardless if you're trying to build your confidence about money, or if you're working on getting more healthy and building your health and implementing healthy habits that will help you have good health many decades into your later years. Anything like these sorts of areas like finance and health that can feel really slow. The progress can feel really slow, and you might have a lot of narratives around those topics that aren't helping you out much either. It can be really, really inspiring to surround yourself with empowered voices. So I would encourage you, and I will link to some of my favorite empowered voices in the finance space here on YouTube down in the description. Share with me as well who else you like to follow too, because I would love to hear from you, other finance influencers. But choose like 1 or 2 channels to just start following, watch all of their videos or finance podcast and listen to all their episodes. Find a financial advisor who's writing books that their style really resonates with you and their teaching style resonates. Start reading their books. Just find something that really resonates with you, or someone who's addressing a specific area that you're trying to learn more about, like taxes or retirement planning, investing, debt payoff, just whatever you're dealing with at the moment. It can also be helpful to find someone who's really niched down into that area. But really, I would really encourage you to find your empowered voices and just get in the room with those people. LinkedIn is a great place for this as well. If you want to follow, there's some fantastic finance influencers who are sharing tons of really great stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else over on LinkedIn. And you can follow them. You don't even have to connect with them if you're not in finance yourself. It's fine. Just start following them and read the things that they share. But just get in the room with those empowered voices, because that is going to really help you move in the direction of your goals financially, to be surrounded with these people who already have it figured out. And I'm not going to claim to be one of those people, so I'm so thrilled you're here. But definitely listen to other voices in the room than just mine, because it is so, so key to just surround yourself with people who are encouraging you and helping you move in the right direction. This might also look with working with a good financial advisor if you have the resources for that as well. But just whatever that looks like for you, find a way to really get in the room with those super empowered voices around finance who are speaking knowledge and speaking empowerment around finances and helping you build those tools and those resources, and then helping you also take action in meaningful ways, not just teaching you kind of like for the sake of knowledge, but teaching you then how to take action. And that's definitely what I'm trying to do on my channel here, is empower you to step into your financial confidence, because it is so important for me that I don't just teach stuff and people are like, okay, fine, great, how to budget, how to invest, how to do this, how to do that. And I love making those videos, but it's also about, I want you to take action in your own life so that you can prove to yourself that you can build the skills that you need in this area, regardless of what anyone else has ever told you about how good or bad you are with finances, regardless of the mistakes you've made in the past. It's very important to me that you begin to take action today. And so thank you so much for taking that first step by watching this video to the very end. Shout out to everybody who leaves me thumbs up and comments. I love hearing from you. Thank you so much. And I will see you again soon in my next video.